Welcome to PC Wiz Kids Tech Talk. Today we're looking at something new from Sapphire, the Pulse RX 5500 XT. That's right, this is a brand new next-gen graphics card from AMD, basically, that you can see here. Sapphire has taken that and added their own to it. Now, what's new about it? Obviously, when you look at the box, a lot of things stand out right off the bat. 7 nanometers in architecture on that GPU die. Yes, that's right. We're going from 14 nanometers to 7 now. So more efficient on the clock per wattage, basically, that AMD is trying to get at here. Give you the maximum amount of frequency without necessarily heating up the card like crazy and needing to spend a lot of money either, right? Sapphire is adding excellent cooling, obviously. A few things to highlight about this card. You can see there the base clock, the boost, the memory, excellent. The memory bus width, however, a little bit low, 128 bit, but that's because it's an entry-level graphics card. AMD says that the RDNA architecture, R for Radeon, is meant to really be much more efficient per watt, right? The clock speeds are going to really be high and utilize less power, basically, okay? Sapphire has brought in, of course, their intelligent precision fan controls and all of these features, which obviously take advantage of the next-gen GPU, especially if you're going to be running this on a brand new motherboard that supports PCI Express 4.0, that's just great. I mean, we want to maximize the bandwidth here. Now, I'm not saying that you'll be able to play games on 4K or 8K. Obviously not. This is an entry-level graphics card, especially with this one that is only a 4 gig model, okay, on the memory, but it does come in an 8 gig version, just so you know. So even though this is really an 1080p killer, so you can run everything at 1080p, full-blown ultra settings on the graphics, no, don't hold back, everything's going to be great and run really nice, super smooth. I'm going to actually run this at 2K, so at 1440p, so you can actually see how much you can get out of this. You'll be super surprised. Basically, you can see there only one 8-pin power connector required. I do like that, you can add a whole bunch of monitors, 3 monitors in there. I don't know if you'll necessarily need 3 monitors because, again, this is an entry-level graphics card, but for business needs, I guess that's great. You can do some gaming on low settings if you want to have triple monitors going on, but really, I mean, 1 monitor at 2K, great. I think it's going to be the sweet spot. You're going to see that in just a moment. The cooling is excellent. Obviously, you have throughout the aluminum fins there with 3 heat pipes to cool that off. But on top of that, you got the 100 millimeter fans that Sapphire provides that are ultra quiet. I was really impressed on that. Plus, they added a backplate there. So talk about giving you some premium features, including that dual bias switch, which comes by default setup for gaming performance, but you can have it on a lower setting, which downclocks and runs the fan even quieter. So that's amazing that they've added that in there too. Here's the system that I'm running this on, by the way. So obviously, I didn't want to bog down the card. I want to make sure that I have a system that will freely let this card shine and run to the max on this with an Intel. You could do just as good, but I'm running all AMD. Okay, so I have a Ryzen 7 GPU with this new Navi GPU from AMD, 7 nanometer architecture, like I said, and entry level. Okay, keep that in mind. This is an entry-level graphics card. That's why the bus width is only 128 bit, and it only has 4 gigs of GDDR6 memory, but it's still compatible, obviously, with your latest and greatest gaming titles. And you're going to see that as I do some benchmarks. But I really have to, address the GPU clock is nice and high at 1780 megahertz. The memory clocks, again, nice and high also at 1750 megahertz, and then the boost at 1845 megahertz. Between those three, I mean, these are excellent right out of the box frequencies that we're getting from Sapphire here. So I'm really impressed on that. And of course, it has support for your Vulkan and DirectX 12. Now, when it comes to GPU power and temperatures, obviously, when I just record this screen and I'm running basically on idle, okay, so picture me just doing 2D basically here. We're not doing any 3D graphics. So the fans are basically off. Temperatures are hovering around the 35 degrees Celsius, give or take. Okay, a couple of degrees there. And power usage is really low. I mean, 5 watts or under is the GPU power draw based on idle usage. So if it's not doing anything, then why should it be consuming a lot of power, or why should the fans be on if it's not heating up? So it makes perfect sense. If you run it at full GPU load, then yes, temperatures will rise up to around 75 degrees Celsius, give or take, and utilize up to 105 watts, give or take again. Fan speed still low at about 30%, 1000 RPM. Very nice. Now, when it comes to benchmarks, again, I'm not overclocking this card. It comes out of the box like this, so I'm leaving it as is. This is an entry-level card, so I'm not really going to overclock this any further than what it needs to be. You can see here on the Performance Mark 9 how it basically positions itself with that score of 7934 compared to these other graphics cards, so very nice. You can see there that it exceeds some previous generations graphics cards as well. I did some 3D rendering graphic tests here as well, as you can see, and the score on this one specifically was 2716. Well, what does that mean? If we compare that online to other GPUs that ran the same test, you can see again how this compares to other systems with those other graphics cards installed. Again, the sweet spot there, you can see it's doing very well, faster than a RX 570 for sure. Definitely doing very nicely here. When it comes to game performance, if you're running games at 1080p, you're going to get well over 100 frames per second. Okay, so that's a given. But I'm running all of my stuff at 1440p. I want to show you everything running beyond of what it's really meant to be used for. And you can see here how well it performs and outperforms these other graphics cards. Again, remember, this card is priced below $200 US. Okay, so it's below that, and it's giving you more performance. And Call of Duty, brand new, you can see here how well it performs again at these settings at 1440p. You know, I'm putting it pretty high, the graphics settings. Okay, I'm not holding back, so that you can see here that I'm getting at least on average about 55 frames per second. Obviously it goes up and down. If I lower the graphics settings to low, it jumps to 190 frames per second, which is absolutely insane. Obviously, if you run this at 1080p at ultra settings, you're going to get over 100 frames per second. But look at what I'm getting with just 2560 times 1440, so 1440p. Well, these are excellent results, right? And again, you don't have to run things at the highest to get decent, smooth results. You can run it at medium settings at 1440p, and you're still going to get really good results as well. So the sweet spot, I would say, if you want to run most of your games at 1440p at medium settings, then you're going to get great results. If you want to run them at ultra settings on everything, well, 1080p is the way to go, obviously. Battlefield 5, here's another example, okay? Again, I am going to run it at 1440p. You can see right here the graphics settings, DirectX 12. I'm not going to hold back and run it at DirectX 11. No, I'm going to put it at DirectX 12 and keep it on high settings. And again, the settings mean something, because if I change the settings, obviously it will consume less graphics memory. Keep that in mind. This only has 4 gigs of GDDR6 memory. Yes, it's enough, but as soon as you start increasing the graphic details, it consumes more memory. It's going to max out. Okay, it's going to max out. So that's why this is definitely not a 4K gaming card. It doesn't have enough bandwidth to handle that, and not enough memory as well. So, but if you keep things at 2K and below that, at medium settings, yes, you can run some games at high settings, then you're going to get some good performance. Far Cry 5 is another perfect example of that. I did run the test both at 1440p and 1080p, so you can get a comparison there. You can see there the high and the ultra display setting results of frames per second on this machine. And yeah, the sweet spot, I guess, running it at normal settings, which is what they have in the game, will give you great results. If you want to run it at 1080p, obviously it boosts it all the way up there to 80 frames per second, which is just great on average. Now, Thief, an older game, as you can see here, but still running it at very high settings at 1080p. You can see the results there. Goes over 100 frames per second max, on average about 80. And you can see here, if I run it at 1440p, max frames per second is about 87, and average is about 60. So that's not bad at all. Other games, you know, it just depends on what the flavor of the day and what you want to play. This one here, Battlefront, I love Star Wars, and just have to show you some gaming here, so you just got an idea on DirectX 11. For those of you that want to play some older games, Fortnite is another perfect example of that as well. You don't have to run necessarily DirectX 12 games, the latest and greatest. You can run some games that use older graphics engines, such as Fortnite. They are working on DirectX 12 as well. Of course, it's there in beta, but still, excellent results at 1440p, and that's what I want to drive home here. The price that you're getting for a card under $200, brand new next-gen stuff, 1080p is a given. You're going to get way better results than you would imagine, but you can still run things at 1440p no problem as well, should you decide to do that. And, I'm pretty impressed. I'd like to see what else is coming down from AMD, because they're doing great so far. Very impressed. Definitely recommend this card. I'll add the latest link to the pricing below if you're interested. Comment. Let me know what you think. Maybe you're thinking about upgrading this year, and this could very well be it for you. Again, thank you for watching.